Good evening. Fix this hat real quick. Good evening. All right. What episode is this? Number 14? I think it was number 14. We're just about to get started real quick. This is our 14th episode of the Unpacking White Supremacy IG Live series. As always, I'm putting on Florida water because of the topic, and it calms me down. It's calming. All things considered, I don't know what's going on in this country, but we got black men being mysteriously dying around their white friends. We have brown men being hunted down by ICE. And so it's funny because I started this live before the Unpacking White Supremacy, the overall project. I started the actual lives as Unpacking White Supremacy in the mental health field, because I was inspired by my experience at a university I used to work at, where I was working with a bunch of white mental health professionals who were racist as fuck, and they didn't understand how their behavior was impacting not only their black and brown colleagues or colleagues of color, but also the clients they worked with. So that's what inspired this particular series. It just evolved into a larger project. And I remember back in those days, I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Antonio Morales. I'm the founder of the Liberated Self Therapeutic Services, LLC, which is basically a private practice, mental health private practice, that is dedicated to supporting black and brown folk with transcending the adverse impact of white supremacy. Now, I know I done said that a million times. That's why I could say it that way. But if you have any questions about my private practice, you can go to the liberatedself.org to find out some information about exactly what type of services that I provide. So like I was saying, I started this series as a result of a series called Unpacking White Supremacy in the Mental Health Field. And it came from an experience working at a university that I worked at previously, and how my fellow colleagues were so problematic in how they were as a result of racism. And these are mental health professionals, licensed mental health professionals. Because I know recently there's been this conversation about licensed mental health professionals and people who have degrees and all of the credentials. Like, those are the people you go to for support and when it comes to your mental health. However, is that really the truth? Because I know there's a lot of mental health professionals who are licensed and have all the degrees that cause a lot of harm, especially the black and brown folk. So anyway, I don't know why I started off on a rant, but I just did. Let me light my Palo Santo real quick. Today I have a special guest, Carolina Acevedo. And actually, it's interesting how Carolina became a guest, because in my last live, I was waiting for my other guest, and my guest wasn't showing up for technical reasons, and then Carolina showed up on the by the way, I'm using this because one of my nieces stole my lighter. So now I have to use the barbecue lighter. That tells you how many lighters I have. And so Carolina joined us in the last IG Live, impromptu. And so I wanted to give her the opportunity to share her story for a full hour, because I felt like whatever she was sharing made sense, and I felt like it could enhance the conversation. So that's why Carolina is a guest today, our special guest for today. So before I begin, I just want to share the intentions of the Unpacking White Supremacy Project. And the Unpacking White Supremacy Project is intended to spread awareness about the complex, nuanced ways that white supremacy infiltrates our lives, exploring it through a sociological lens as we unpack the adverse impact and engage in a process of psychological liberation and healing through the sharing of our personal narratives and collective lived experience. And as I said before, part of this conversation is to bring awareness so that we can normalize what it is that we're dealing with. Meaning, so many of us deal with white supremacy, various iterations of white supremacy, and we don't even know that it's connected to white supremacy, even though it's adversely impacting us, and we think we're going crazy. But we're not going crazy. We're dealing with white supremacy. And the sort of the magical tool of white supremacy is racism, which is psychological warfare. And so it's important for us to understand what it is that we're dealing with and to name it, and the various iterations of white supremacy, so that we can know that we're not going crazy, that we're not tripping. And so that's really the point of it. Some people think it's divisive to have this kind of conversation, or divisive. However, not when you consider what we're up against, right? Again, black and brown men in America and other black and brown folk and people of color, transgender folk, all the folk who have been marginalized are under attack. And that's because of white supremacy. I mean, that's it. There's nothing else. People call it colonialism. They say capitalism. All of it falls under white supremacy. Anyway, without further ado, I want to bring on my guest, Carolina, so that you can introduce yourself. Let me see where you're at, because I know you're in here because I saw you. And welcome to anyone who is joining us today. By the way, if you want to see the Unpacking White Supremacy in the Mental Health Field series, you can go to YouTube at the Liberated Self, and you're going to see all of the videos all the lives for that particular series. But let me get Carolina up in here real quick. Carolina, I see you. There you go.
Hey.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Super. Even better today. What a great day.
It's your birthday. You said your birthday?
No, I said it's such a great day.
Oh, it's such a great day. I guess it depends on who you ask, right?
That's true. But I get to spend it here, giving a nice combo with you, and
yeah, overall, I guess I get what you're saying. Which, man, America with the 3Ks is fucked up right now. Like, we dealing with some stuff. You know what I'm saying?
yesterday. Even today, the man in Maine that ICE killed, and few days before that, another father.
They just gunning people down like it's like a thing. Like, oh, that's normal. They're not white, so it's fine.
But even when they did gun down, Renee and the other gentleman, they were able to justify that.
But white America was outraged.
In the ways that they do.
Yeah.
Not enough.
They was outraged enough. Because when the white man and the white woman got shot down, it was a different conversation. When it's black and brown folk, we get killed all the time. It's like, well, yeah.
It's heavy. I also got my own stage that I had to light as you were speaking and giving our intro.
I was on a mini rant for some reason. I don't know what it was. The spirit just got into me real quick, so I just had to say it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's why I got it last time. Your rant. I was like, ooh, what's he talking about?
I just feel so animated or activated. I think activated is more like the right word, because of what's happening in America. And it's and we're supposed to go on business as usual, and nobody's supposed to feel a certain way about it. We're supposed to be like, oh, okay, you're just hunting black and brown people down over and over again. It's not a big deal. It's just America. That's just the norm. You know what I'm saying? And so it's really activating. For anyone who's not activated, is because they're clearly not present. And maybe they're watching other shows or something.
The past 3 years, what we were seeing live streams of the genocide in Palestine.
Oh my goodness.
Has been part of that, to normalize the brutality that started this, at the end of 2025.
That's right.
And, people are like, oh, this has always happened, but this is a ramped up degree of violence and occupation, right? ICE is an occupying force. I mean, look at what in Minnesota, and it's heavy. It's a lot, and it's people need I think it's a reality that a lot of Americans are really comfortable with because it doesn't touch them yet.
That's right.
But
That's true.
as I speak with more people, and they're like, "Oh, my neighbor was taken. The lady who does my massages was taken." You know, and it's touching a lot of people, at least in here in Newark, Elizabeth, even all over New Jersey, though places that I wouldn't even assume.
No, I remember when the ICE became like a thing, and I was like, I gotta walk around with my passport because they bound to pick me up. You know what I'm saying? Because just the way I look, and
That's what
so
my that's what my aunt said, and she's like in her 60s, and I'm like, yeah, you know,
it's real though because they don't really
yes,
know who's documented, who's not, who's a citizen, who's not. They're just looking for like either black or brown folk who don't look white. That's like the main thing. You know what I'm saying? Which is obviously racial profiling. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. Now, I'm gonna get right into the conversation with you, right? Even though we were talking about ICE, but I just want to sort of steer our gears. I want you to introduce yourself or something that you think is important for the audience members to know before we get into the next question, right? Which is the next question is sort of the real icebreaker, but this is just like an introduction icebreaker. So just introduce yourself, something that
yeah,
you think people should know about you.
yeah. Well, I'm Carolina. I was raised here in New Jersey, by my parents who came like in the 90s or the 80s, from Bolivia, and my dad, he came from Colombia, and they met here. And I ended up studying social work, and that's how I met Antonio, actually, through just being at the Center for Latino Arts in Rutgers, where I studied. Um, and I did the social work path. I really was interested in like psychology, sociology, but social work was kind of this big, broad umbrella that I could fit a lot of my other interests in. So, like talking to people, learning about psychology, but also history and society and the ways that it affects us. So I got my master's in that when I was in 2021. It was like COVID. It was ridiculous. While I was doing that, I was also working at the refugee center. It's an international rescue center in Elizabeth. And that's where I really saw the international aspect of what our country does to people all around the world. Um, I met Syrians, Iranians, Congolese for the first time, and this country is just a history of destabilizing and sacking other places. So I was really interested in that immigration, um, and just the working class. So I got my master's. I stayed working in direct service. I did therapy with youth and families, like online and also in homes for a little bit with Perform Care here in New Jersey, which is a state service if anyone is interested in getting counseling for their youth. It's a service that any child under 18 can receive, and parents too, because it's the support for the parents. So I did that, but that was also, I felt, you know, I saw the gaps and the scraps that counselors are working with when they're trying to speak with these families. So I didn't really feel too supported, and I pivoted and I started working at the New York Water Coalition, where I love the freedom and the ability to talk about the context that we live in and not have to be censored or censor myself. Within all of that, I also do art. I'm in my art studio. I do jewelry and art markets, and that feeds the creative part of my soul and was my first form of therapy.
And I noticed that in your bio, you were sharing about like you wanted to integrate art, like creative media, with like counseling or something. Can you share more about that sort of aspiration?
Yeah, I think it's still kind of in my head somewhere of what I want that, or even like what kind of mentorships that I want to explore that with. So I like counseling, our talk therapy, or even group therapies. But what I felt was it just was missing the parts that I was interested in, which is our environment, our nature, um, which was like a really big medicine for me, to be in nature, to be present, and mindfulness. So not just talking, but really doing that introspection, more holistically, not just based on the diagnosis that somebody gives you or the medicines that you're taking. Um, and so I want to explore that. I was always doing art therapy, like for myself or even in community. Uh, but I want to see how, where else I could take that. More of
Yeah.
like a mindfulness, creative approach when it comes to doing therapies. But I don't know. And I think I have to meet practitioners that I can learn that from.
Yeah.
Uh, and when I was doing that, with perform care or even just in schooling, like I didn't see that. And I think that's why I never have not yet gone for my LCSW. Uh, but it is on my track list of many things I'd like to do.
You know, when I think about, I think we oftentimes take creativity for granted. Like, I always think of artists or creative people as sort of tapping into their spirituality, right? Because I feel like there's something very spiritual about being a creator or an artist. Because in order for you to like create, you got to tap into the universe, right? There's no other way around it. Like, even when I think about like the work that I do, like I do a lot of programming, and in order for me to do the programming that I do, I have to tap into the universe, right? It's not just going to be it just doesn't come automatically. I have to be tapped in, and so but that's
Yeah.
part of being tapped into the universe in order for me to do my work.
Right. And I think it's recognizing that it's in us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's that Zen moment that we can't even tap into sometimes because we're always moving, moving, moving. But when you're actually using your hands or whatever you're writing or whatever kind of art form you do, you realize you're not thinking. You're not
I'm thinking.
doing anything. You have it all and you are just moving and being
Mm-hmm.
very present. And that's really what, um, as a teenager, I was like, I didn't know what I was doing with my art in my hands, but I just threw myself in it and I would get lost for hours. And at the end I'd be like, ooh, as
Yeah.
if I had just spoken or done some therapy or ran a mile.
Yes.
It was liberating.
Right, I get it. I get it. I totally understand that, and I think that's a powerful way to practice. Right, when it comes to like working with your community, like introducing to create them to creativity or art or working with their hands, because they might not know that they have access to that kind of resource within themselves, and so I can't wait to see how that evolves for you, how you
Me
develop
too. I'm
that.
excited. I'm seeing where I'm gonna go. I'm thinking out west. They have a little more holistic medicines that I'd love to explore.
It sounds like you want to like get into indigenous kind of practices, right? And so, which makes sense because that's really the key to our collective healing, right? Like thinking about going back to where we come from and our ancestors and what it is that they provided to us as far as medicine. So, with that being said, now I'm going to go into the real icebreaker because I feel like we're like sort of leaning there into that direction. So, I just want to
Yeah.
ask you, where are your people from? And if you can name one positive characteristic that you inherited from your people, and how does that show up for you in your life today?
Yeah. So, like I said, my father's side is from Colombia and my mother's side is from Bolivia. Um, and I think the one characteristic is on both sides, our ingenuity of creating, of being joyful and happy. So if that's like, they didn't grow up with a lot, right? They,
Mm-hmm.
in all sense, if you're from here, you're gonna say that they grew up poor,
Mm-hmm.
but they always found a way to be happy and to be together, even if our communication's all messed up and all these things. Our nonverbal
Uh-huh.
skills
Uh-huh.
on point, on point. Always my like. I just look up to a lot of my family members who know how to connect and engage with each other. Um, I think this country has stripped a lot of them of that ability.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when I was being younger, I saw it more. But the more years that you stay here, and the patterns that they create in us, it disconnects us more.
Yeah.
And so I think my gift is really that, being able to listen and like genuinely listen and engage, and,
Yeah.
and just be present with somebody and enjoy that moment. Like,
Yeah.
though, not like in a fake way. Um, that connection that this consumerism, crazy, disconnected, individualistic society in the West wants to instill in all of us.
Yeah, you know what's so crazy about that? I think about all of the people that migrated to the United States, especially people that come, indigenous folk, and they come to the United States and their identities or our identities are stripped from us, our values are stripped from us, right? The assimilation process sort of dehumanizes us. And it's like part of being American, but it's part of being dehumanized, right? So think about the American value, like think about like capitalism as like the pinnacle of everything, right? That's success if you have money, right? Meanwhile, people that get money, they still not happy, right? They still can't have healthy relationships. And so like thinking about how we are forced to assimilate into American culture is really forced to dehumanize ourselves, right? Because we are having to give up values that nourish us and nurture us and love us up versus uh, um, that, and then becoming these sort of machines for productivity, right? To be exploited. And I think we oftentimes forget that as people. So I'm glad, like, when the way you shared about your people and where you come from, how you've kept that sort of intact within yourself, right? And understanding that that comes from your people, and how you sort of honor that by practicing that in real life. So, which is great, because I think most people forget how to practice the truth about who they are from where they come from. And there's so many beautiful cultures that get lost in the American way, right? Like sort of thinking about Americanization, where it is we're again assimilating or sort of conforming to the American way of doing things, and is really detrimental, I think, overall to our well-being, especially to our mental health.
I think I think it also, yeah, it definitely, and it commodifies it. So it makes it insidious too, because it's like, oh look, I'm dressed as whatever you think an indigenous person looks like, but you're not embodying. Like, there's not they don't want to accept the values, the actual interpersonal connections, the grain of it all. They don't want that. They just want the look, the
Yeah,
identity,
the
the
costume of it
the
all.
thing to sell you, you know, and then it's an insidious way, and it makes us not appreciate the real roots of our roots um, of our differences, right? Because here, God
Yeah,
forbid, we were different. But I love my community because we're able to celebrate it, and I think growing up in a diverse place like Elizabeth, or Newark, although it wasn't celebrated as much, like, we weren't consciously like, yeah, like, you're so different, we're so cool. It was just happened. We were just like, oh, we're all from everywhere. Our parents migrated from everywhere. We're all gonna learn how to hang out and be from New Jersey, and like,
exactly.
yeah, it was so genuine as a child, and as a younger person. But you're also still navigating the sick behaviors that we see as children, and we try to replicate.
Like what, for example?
Um, so for my own personal experience, I think I kind of mentioned this before. It was my looks. It was, not we weren't like the most well off, right? So I wasn't like flashing with all like my new shoes or like new clothes, and so, like, as kids, kids are brutal. So if I looked too Indian, as they would call me, like, oh, you look so Indian, and they weren't saying it like, wow, so beautiful. It was like, why do you look like that? Why do you got hair on your arms? Why do you, are you a boy? Like, I'm a girl, like, I'm a young child, and these are things that come up in as children,
Mm.
and adults really should contextualize things for kids and talk about it. And I know a lot of people don't want to talk. Well, we don't want to ruin their wonderful brains, but they're thinking it. And I thought about it, and I wanted to fit in. I wanted to look more American.
Yeah.
And
So you're saying like growing like the beauty standards you already got at an early age, sort of like the beauty standards was not like non-white American, right? It was like, I mean, it was white Americans, not anything else, non-white American. And so,
yes,
I don't know why light keep going. God damn it, light, would you stop? But you're saying that when they said that you looked Indian, they meant indigenous or like Indian from India? Well, like what context were they describing it?
I came at India from India.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we were really talking about even North American Native, like South American Native. I mean,
Okay.
everyone is Latino for all people know.
That's true. That's true. We forget the fact that many of us are indigenous, right? Like it's like well, even thinking about like Puerto Rican, right? What does it mean to be Puerto Rican? Like for me, all I knew growing up was Puerto Rican, but there was no other distinction except that, right? And not thinking about like my African, ancestry or my indigenous ancestry, the Tainos, um, or even the European ancestry, which I don't really fully embrace. But at least the other two, like I didn't have any real connection to what it meant to be a person of African descent or a person of Taino descent. Like I didn't have that sort of connection, and so
Yeah.
it took me into my adulthood to recognize my indigenous parts, and then I declared myself an Afro Boricua, right? As a paying homage to my African ancestry as well as my Taino ancestry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not the European ancestry though. My name
I
already
was,
is European enough.
it's in there, and but that's the part that they want to erase, and it's a systemic erasure of that history that before they were so proud, and by they I mean Western, European and North American, American, whatever, United States. They were so proud to be like, oh, look at all these slaves that we have. But now through a conscious system of re-education, they want to wipe all that away. They want to wipe what they did to Colombia and Bolivia, and pretend like we were just always Latino. And we forget that when we embrace the concept of Latino, which I'm not judging anybody for doing, because, that's whoever you want to be. But if you're just calling yourself that without the context of the history that you came from, you're already, for me, it was it was a difference in how I even saw myself, my family, the perspective of my world, of what I went through. And it's so intentional to
Mad intentional.
want to erase that. Like you have people who have like family lineages, like family trees from like generations back, right? Meanwhile, a lot of people can, like my family and other people from South America, we can't trace that back.
That's right.
500 years of slavery and genocide,
Mm-hmm.
that we survived, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, for me, it's important to honor that
Mm-hmm.
crazy journey of violence that our ancestors had to live through. And it contextualizes a lot of the behaviors of my family and how they grew up, and it lets me give them more grace, and myself.
Yes. And I feel like, again, we're going right into the next topic because I feel like it blends right in perfectly. A seamless transition. So, because we're like touching on it, so let's like all the way touch on it. So, when it comes to white supremacy, right, in your own words, how would you define or describe white supremacy?
I describe it as social, political system that prioritizes the white male, white wealthy male at this point, by inflicting violence and oppression amongst others who don't fit into that bill. But it's flexible, right? Because not all white people are in this group. And when it's convenient for the powers that be, they can change that of who fits into that definition, right? I mean, we saw in New York, right? Like Irish and Italians, like that, they were discriminated against, right? And so it's a fluid thing based on the needs of the system of how much or what they want to extract from what group of people. A long one.
Yeah, it's like depending on the year, depending on the context, people can be included into whiteness, others might not be able to be included, right? And so, but we understand that, you know, whiteness is a social construct anyway, right? But I think what's interesting about sort of, even when you said like not all people fit into it, any person who identifies as white aligns themselves with white supremacy, because whiteness only exists in the context of white supremacy. There was no whiteness without white supremacy, right? And so, and I think for most people, it's not, there's no conscious awareness because, you know, people, you know, I think, and I always say this because I think people think, at least we assume that everyone should know better, and we just don't. That's not how human beings operate. We just don't know better, right? That's not giving anyone a pass. It is just reality. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And so even though white people who identify as white might not sort of hold, well, we all have prejudices, so we can't escape that part. We all have been internalized with anti-racism as well, so we can't escape that part. All of the things that we all been socialized with, we all got it, right? So there's nobody escapes this.
No.
But I think it's interesting how when we think about white folk and thinking about, I think white folk know, whether they admit it or not, that they are privileged, and white privilege is an iteration of white supremacy, right? And so I'm not sure that any white person will give up their privileges for the liberation of black and brown folk and any other folk of color. That doesn't mean that some of them might not, but I just overall collectively, I'm not convinced. Yeah, I'm just not. I'm not convinced. It is what it is. Because we've been dealing with this for way too long.
Even if they decided one day to the next, right, to do so, there's a global system in place.
Global.
It that way, right? So even if like everyone in America was like, "Ooh, we're gonna change and do this," you got to go against international groups, banks, corporations that need this in place in order to sustain the exploitation of resources that they are doing.
That's right.
It's big and it's huge.
Giant.
Huge.
Massive.
Yeah.
It's global.
But it's a reality.
What are you going to say? Sorry.
No, it's like, and it's a reality.
It's a reality.
It's a reality that a lot of people think is only into the United States. But I mean, look at the United Nations and the dismal reaction and power they have.
The United Nations.
When it comes to Gaza and Lebanon and
listen, at this point, I mean, the United Nations got no, like, they have no credibility. Like, what's the point of you?
I'm gonna change it. Yes, they have no credibility, but that's exactly what they were made to do, to what they're doing now.
Like, just pretend they're gonna do something and not do anything. Like, they're about some kind of moral values
and legitimize new colonialism. Ooh. So they're legitimizing the United States peacekeepers into Palestine, into Lebanon, what they did to Iraq and Afghanistan. They legitimized that and made them aid, meanwhile stealing everything in that country and killing millions of people that they did when they went into Iraq and Afghanistan.
I feel triggered. Like it's like a consistent trigger. It's not like a new trigger. It's like, oh, I'm triggered again. Oh, we're having the same conversation. Okay, and so we get it. So we understand that white supremacy is a global phenomenon, right? And it's like it's going to take a lot to dismantle that. So when thinking about white supremacy in your own lived experience of it, what iteration of white supremacy, or can you name one iteration of white supremacy that you've experienced firsthand that you want to share? And sort of take us through any sort of lived experience, specific lived experience that you have with that, and then talk about the adverse impact that's had on your mental health.
Mm. I think as a woman, that was the first iteration, like sexism and sexualization was the first iteration that I had to um, battle against. And, you know, I met a lot of men who have said, well, what are you talking about? Like, women can buy their homes now. Like, there's no law that says that they're less than, right? We're all equal. And that's the insidiousness of, you know, white supremacy, patriarchy, and imperialism. Because, yeah, it doesn't have to be written in law, even though it used to be only a few decades ago.
Mm-hmm.
But we were all trained at this point, right? And so growing up as a girl, you know, it was limitations. You know, girls can't do this. Girls, you know, be in your place, have your role. Oh, that triggers me. And me wanting to rebel against that was, oh, she's crazy. Oh, she's a wild child.
Mm.
And it made, one, my parents nervous, right? So instead of helping that flourish and that curiosity and wanting to be in dirt and like in shorts instead of skirts, they repressed it. You know, they were like, there's something wrong with you. You shouldn't be like that.
Mm.
And so that in my own brain was like, oh my God, something's wrong with me. I'm not a girl. I'm not a woman. Maybe I'm a boy. Like at some point, I just wanted to be a boy. Like, God, I just wanted to be free and run and it not be like, oh my God, look, a girl knows how to play soccer. Why does it have to be so amazing? Like, sometimes you don't even want the attention. I just wanted to enjoy sports
Yeah.
or enjoy growing up. And
Mm-hmm.
And sexism is a real thing, especially for little girls, and it was really confusing. And then that whole thing of, you know, of sexualizing women or girls, but not allowing them to be sexual when it's
Mm.
something so normal.
Yeah.
That is a really confusing thing
Yeah.
to experience because everyone around you is sexualizing you. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have questions about it or an interest as you get older to be intimate, it's like a taboo.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like they're just setting us up for really deep confusion and loneliness is what I felt.
Mm.
Because my thought, like all these things were, I was thinking, which is completely normal,
Mm-hmm.
were supposedly bad,
Mm.
evil even. I mean, doesn't even include the religion, which makes you feel shame, like on a spiritual level. Um, so for me, my whole thing, I just wanted to be counter everything. I wanted to be the opposite of whatever people were telling me, and I still kind of do that a little more consciously though. But and it got me into like cool things. Like I was definitely like, oh, I want to be different, but it got me into violence and harm too, right? Because not everything people say to you is meant to be bad for you. But I took everything like, no, I don't like any of this, and it put me into a really lonely place.
Yo, first of all, because I feel like you said two different things. 'Cause
Mm.
I want to sort of unpack the two different things. I think they're super important, right? The first thing, what you described was sort of feeling as a girl like there was limits placed on you when it came to like gender norms, right? And sort of thinking, how can you move as a kid? You was a little girl. If you want to play sport or be free or do like you were sort of discouraged from being sort of fully expressed. Like you had to repress your humanity and I think just thinking about you describing that, I'm thinking to myself, all of the women obviously that I grew up with, right, as a kid, and thinking about like I think about my sister specifically, who we grew up in the same household, and I don't know how many times she got screamed at to wash dishes, right, or like to like help with other things, other chores around the house, and I never had to deal with that, right? Like it was never a comment like wash dishes. That was not me. Like, and
Wow.
it's so interesting to think about like how that for a young girl, how that probably shaped her lived experience, right? And the stressors that she was put under to conform to this this gender norm.
Yeah.
And so I don't think boys actually consider. Hold on, what's going on with this? It says the live keeps freezing. Is the live freezing over there for you?
No.
It's not freezing for me either. And my light keeps going off. But I don't think men or young boys we ever consider what girls go through as we're being socialized, right? Obviously, we have our own stuff that we're dealing with as boys, but like I don't think we ever consider what girls go through. And I think about like my sister and thinking about sort of her getting yelled at for not washing the dishes and me never having to deal with that, right? And so, um, and I think about all the other young women or girls who had to deal with that same sort of socialization, and thinking about how they probably felt limited because they had to do girl stuff and sort of be in girl boxes. Because I even like if I even though I didn't go out late and stood up, but I knew if I wanted to go out late and disappear, I could do that. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think my sister could have did the same. You know what I'm saying?
No, they couldn't. And not only that, but it's a stifling our voice. So I've always had an issue with my voice because we're not allowed to get mad, we're not allowed to be sad, we're just supposed to do what they're told and we're supposed to like it. It's this crazy thing. And I'm gonna tell you guys, research shows that women are so much more susceptible to autoimmune diseases because there's this wonderful book that because of the way that we repress our voices and we just take and take all that anger and sadness and lock it away. And we're like, oh, women are so strong, they're so strong. Yeah, they have been, but at what cost? And as in a lot of studies show, at the cost of autoimmune diseases, diseases that people are like, whoa, where did this come from? And it's our fucking brains, like our bodies telling us like we can't do this anymore. And so I have made it my life's mission to practice using my voice, to be more clear about my feelings and emotions, because it was taught that all that didn't matter. And that the only thing I need to matter is about keeping my house in order and everyone around me happy. Because
Right.
the women are the glue. We all can be the glue. We all
We all
have
could be the glue.
we all have power, and once we start balancing that, that's when our families flourish and mental health gets spoken about, and like all these things get identified. Ugh.
So was in some ways when you're thinking about like you wanted sort of to partake in like sports and stuff, did you feel like that was your like unconscious way of trying to reclaim a voice in you, or like your power? Because I think voice can be equated to our power, right? When we are silenced, it's like we're being disempowered to some extent, right? Like we can't. Our humanity is unexpressed in some ways, right? Because language is a powerful tool that we can use to express ourselves. So are you saying that, I'm going back to the same question, that because you felt like you didn't have a voice because you had to sort of simmer down as a girl, that you partook in sort of boy-like activities in order to reclaim that voice?
Definitely. For me, it was like, I need to do this. I can do it better than the boys.
Yeah.
And I still do.
Yeah.
And it was definitely that confidence, like my ability, I could do this. It definitely got me into trouble. I thought I could drink like a boy. I thought I could smoke cigarettes like a fucking barman, chain smoke. So I definitely took it places that were like, you don't even want to do all of that. But it was a point to me to say that I can do all of this, and I can do it better, and I'm capable. And it was a balance that I'm still learning. To
Yeah.
Is that really what I want, or am I just trying to prove a point?
And what's the answer, you think?
I think it's both, and it's still gonna be both. But if the proof of point, I have to be weary with. I'm like, okay, is it safe? Does this align with my values? Does it even matter? Who am I trying to prove it for?
Right.
That's that introspection parts that I really have to like.
Or maybe you're just living your truth.
Maybe.
And maybe that's it. Like, whatever my truth is and the way it shows up is the way it shows up, and the way I show up is the way I show up. You know what I'm saying? And that's it. Like, there's nothing else about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's I think that's a great point, a great practice for you at least to sort of think about, like, how am I gonna move? Let me be intentional about how I'm moving and fuck all of the fucking the gender norms that they're trying to prescribe to me. I'm gonna just do me.
Yeah, yeah, and I want other women, other girls to see that. You know, it's
Yeah.
like I remember I took up welding for a little bit, and one of the guys, this artist guy, was like amazed that a woman was welding, like amazed, and I was just like, wow, this is I gotta be here. This is something I gotta learn how to do because it's
Yeah.
something I'm just welding, bro.
Yeah. No, no, absolutely. Now, so I think that's such an interesting point that you just described there. But I want to go to the next part because I thought the next part just struck me more than anything about sort of being sexualized. This is, and then sort of then being shamed for like sexuality at the same time. Because I remember being a little boy and always being asked if I had a girlfriend, right? But the little girls are not asked the same question, even though they're sexualizing, they're making the boys think about girls in a sexualized way, right? But it's not the same for the little girl. They're not asking, do you have a boyfriend? Only boys really get that the most, right? And so I'm thinking about like how young boys are trained to sexualize girls, and so like you're saying, right? So now girls are meant to be objects of boys' desires, but then when it comes to girl sexuality, they're like fucking dragged through the mud if they even dare, like lose their virginity, say for example, right? And so, and the fact that you brought that up, I think is so powerful because I think a lot of women deal with this around, not only feeling or being sexualized in our society, but then having to be confused about the shame that comes with their own sexuality or their sexual freedoms and liberations. You know what I'm saying? So can you say more about that? Because I thought that was sort of a profound sort of point.
Yes, I think it's hurtful in two ways in the sense that us when we're learning about intimacy and what we like and what we don't like, it's really hard to figure that out because we have to unpack all the shame that was put onto us, right? Like, ooh, did I like kissing that guy? Oh no, I must be a slut. What, bro? It's you're kissing a boy. There's nothing wrong with you. And then on the other hand, it objectifies us so much that when we want to talk to a boy, it's like he's talking to a wall. They don't know how to interact with women and girls, and they don't think we have interests. They don't think we have feelings. They don't see us as human. And
Mm.
it does such a disservice not to just women, but to men, because they
Mm.
will never understand the beauty of a relationship with the opposite sex. I mean, you don't have to just have a woman in your life because you're married to her or you're attracted to her. Like, people can be friends. God forbid you have a woman as a friend. Like, you do not see men with women as friends because they can only see them as sexual objects.
Ooh.
It's so disheartening. So disheartening.
Yeah, that's something. I mean, I think yeah, like that's really true. Unless the guy obviously is into the same sex or same gender loving, and then you'll probably see him being friends with a female or woman.
Yeah, because
Um,
you're not objectifying them immediately off the back, and our opinions matter. Like, we're like, oh wow, you have a voice. Oh, you're smart. You can be right about things. We can have conversations. It's like, and I can see it and that's the thing I also struggle with. Like, when I'm talking to a man and just they're not listening to me.
mm,
They don't take my words seriously. Sometimes I'd be with a man next to me and they don't even look my way or acknowledge my existence.
mm,
And it's just something I had to learn to not care about, right? And not be scared to interact, right?
mm.
Like, he says good afternoon to everybody except me. I'll be like, hi, good afternoon. I'll be in your face because yeah, I get I definitely get I'm better at
You
calling
get
people.
assertive.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you think I'm just curious because I'm just wondering about this now, like thinking about like when you're in a close to a man or next to a man, like the lack of acknowledgement. Do you think that that's the same across the board for white women?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think the that exoticism of like, ooh, she's so different, she's so wild. Like maybe they don't get that type of sexualization, like the way that we Latina women get sexualized is like a fucking epidemic.
Mm.
I don't even like telling some guys that I'm Colombian because it's just gross.
Mhm.
So I think it's a different level of it, but in this society, like white women, unfortunately, they're not held on the same standard as a white man, right?
Right.
It,
No, of course, because we still
it,
have misogyny.
yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I think they experience it in a different way, and maybe it's comfortable because um, they're not as targeted. I mean, like indigenous women in here in the United States,
Mm.
so much violence against just
And no one talks about it. No one knows about that. I mean, at least mainstream doesn't know about that, right? Like the indigenous people, women especially, who are kidnapped, murdered, lost, disappear. Like it's like
yeah.
not even like a mainstream conversation. God forbid, one white woman gets lost,
It's like
right?
all the neighborhood
It's all
watch.
it's 24-hour news on the 24-hour news cycle. Like everyone's hearing about it, right? I think
Yeah,
about that young lady who Petito. I forgot her name. I think it was something Petito, the white girl that was with her fiance or whatever. And anyway,
yeah,
she went up, got missing, and then all you heard is about this one. Yet the missing indigenous woman, right? That no one ever talks about, like in a mainstream kind of way. Like it's not a conversation at all. I mean, talk about invisibility,
yeah,
right? Talk about like truly, like it. I only know about that part because of that kind of sort of experience that's going on in America because of social media. There's no other way I know about it except that.
yeah, yeah. You have to teach yourself.
Yeah.
You have to teach yourself. Go into the communities, go into organizations that talk about it. Like that's how I learned, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
looking into history, and then seeing the exploitation of Bolivians, right, or Colombian women, and you know people even visiting Colombia now, and it's sex trafficking, man. Like they're like, oh, look at all these gorgeous Colombian women. No, they're teenagers, and dirty men are going to Colombia to hang out and traffic these young women.
They do
And
the same thing in DR, in the Dominican Republic.
yep, and that's part of that system. It's part of white supremacy too, and the fact that they think they could just go to these countries and it makes me sick. It gets me mad.
Yeah. No, yeah, no, no, seriously. And I think to myself, how, and I think though, I think it, I can't speak for all men, but I feel like even men are insensitive to it. Even black and brown men, right? Like there's like a lack of sensitivity to the experience that women are dealing with, and so that it actually like hits home to somebody that we know and love, right? And so I think um, I feel like the masses have to be educated around, yeah, because we live in a patriarchal society, right? So there's like so men are not having to think about what women have to think about, right? We're not socialized that way. We're because we're thinking
Right.
from a man's perspective and not a woman's perspective, and all of the things that women have to endure, men oftentimes are not paying attention to that, right? And I think it's so important that men start being curious about what it is that women are dealing with because those are
Yeah.
our peoples, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it affects them. It affects men. And that's the thing. It's like they don't even know the sides of themselves that they are missing and like locked out from because of that perspective that they have. Objectifying women, relationships with family members, moms, daughters. Like you can never connect with your daughter, bro. It's a big disservice to both, right? Obviously for us, more in the sense of violence and not being seen, but you know, it's
But that's what it looks like to sort of um, destroy our families, right? Sort of thinking about the way the patriarchy sort of uh, has us conditioned to value women less, even though in our indigenous cultures of where we come from, women were not valued less. They were at the top. They was at the center of the families, right? They were like the everything, and they still are, right? Like in practice, right? Most of our families know that the woman is the center of everything, um, but I don't think people consider the value that that brings to any family or any community, right? It's almost like, well,
Yeah.
man, the man.
Yeah, and it's part of that breakdown of the family
Yeah,
because that's our most powerful relationships. I mean, our relationships, interpersonal relationships, is our biggest power, and so it's a systemic, it's an intentional way of colonialism when they went into South America and killed and raped and, unfortunately, use this disgusting word, bred slaves. And it's still there, man. It's still there.
yeah,
We're still, if you're not in it, you're feeling the remnants of it through your family's generations.
yeah,
And I had a lot of sadness and pain that isn't mine. And it's a lot of my mother's and my grandmother's and their inability to be themselves, right? Because of the structure that they had to uphold. I
yeah.
mean, they weren't allowed to be soft, right? Like they had to work and have kids and survive with trying to make their family. And so that was brutal. And it wasn't a soft environment, right?
Yeah.
They lived in violence and then they had to teach in violence. And that's the grace that I give, growing up. My mom, she wasn't abusive, but, she wasn't the most soft woman. And
I can relate.
I had a lot of resentment, but I understand it. I understand it now. And when we can talk about it, we create new space for us to be soft together. And
Yeah.
and that is really healing patterns of like
Hmm.
being able to talk to her about things and realizing when I get triggered and like, okay, like I need to calm down or like speak differently. And
Yeah.
that's the work. That's the work of
That's the
like
word.
recognizing it is first, but like the second part is like really practicing those changes. And it's hard.
It's funny because I talk to my clients all the time about my relationship with my mother because I'm actively engaged in the process of tenderizing her. It's been probably for the last several years because my mom is hard. She has fucking spikes, right? And she's like a fucking stegosaurus. And 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 she's always been that way since I was a young kid. She never was not spiky, but the way I the way I experience it as a more evolved person now is it feels a lot more harmful. And so I used to like battle that before, but then I realized, wait, that's not you're not gonna you got to do it a different way. And so I've been sort of mad loving and mad yonyo. You know what I'm saying? And like just like ma, like and then changing my voice to like a child and like literally transforming our relationship through tenderizing her. And she has no idea what I'm doing, but it's fucking working. Okay. So I wanted to think. So I sort of relate to you saying, but I wanted to go into because I know you was going to touch on it before, but then I sort of wanted to go back to one of the other points you made. But like, if you can briefly talk about sort of the adverse impact, and then of what it means to be a woman in sort of a patriarchal, sort of misogynistic or sexist society. Uh, Talk about the adverse impact because I know you was about to talk to it like 20 minutes ago, and then talk to us about sort of one tool or one way that you've been able to overcome. And I think you were sort of mentioning it with mom and sort of like softening up, like I tenderize my mom. Can you just go into that real quick?
Yeah. So I definitely touched on a little bit. I was um, depressed. I was like a young depressed. Like I was too young to be depressed, bro. I was quiet. I wouldn't talk to anybody. I just dealt with everything on my own. Um, and that will drive you crazy, and it will drive you into the hands of harmful people, which is what it did to me. And at a young age, it took me to realize really harmful relationships like were not I was not supposed to be in that, and I was able to get out of it, um, mostly with my art. It gave me the space to unconsciously process everything that happens to me so that I can it it wasn't so heavy on my heart, which allowed me to have space like to talk with my family. Although maybe I wasn't confiding in them, I still spent more time with them. Nature, spending time in nature away from society was like a reset. It allowed me to be like, move, like I didn't have to be in the box, and I was able to explore who I was with nature. So um, that later on in my life, exercise, uh, being connecting back into my body. So I'm very like uncoordinated. Like I didn't know parts of my body, like my actual physical body. But when I started doing exercise, I figured out, these are things that matter. Like you have to learn, you have to be strong. Like it's not just to look good, but so I can be 80 and be okay, or like take care of myself. Um, so nature, art, exercise, and
But
really
it, but thinking,
important.
so you're talking about like the next part, but it feels like you found a way out of your woundedness or your pain, right? It almost feels like organically, right? Like there was something about an internal, intrinsic something, right, that sort of came out as art, but it was like this ancestral wisdom that was coming through you that sort of showed up as art and then became connecting back to nature and all the things that you did after that, even connecting back to your body, right? So like I'm curious about that part because when you said depressed, right, I heard oppressed, right, and repressed, right. I think most of us, especially people of color, black or brown folk, live in a white, excuse me, supremacist culture or society oppresses us, and we think it's depression, right, and it's oppression, and so and repression on top of the like, right, like it's all like, and they feel like, but so my question is, as you're going through sort of that stuff, right, and sort of was it you sort of unintentionally tapping into like ancestral wisdom that then led to the creativity or the art that sort of became sort of your uh because I always think of my journals. I started writing in journals at the age of 13, and when I write in my journals, I'm releasing energy right through my hands and through the pen onto the page, and so
Yeah,
it feels like when you're doing your art, right, it's like releasing energy. Like there's like a you're channeling energy out of you and into
yeah,
the physical
yeah.
something.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. Uh, I just knew that I felt peace. My thoughts weren't there. I wasn't sad. I didn't feel anything. I was at peace. I was present. And I didn't know what that was, but I was like, I just need to keep doing this. Like no one's bothering me. I'm not bothering myself. It's a zen, and I love that my family is also artistic. My father's side has this whole history of art, of drawing, of photography, um, and I remember my older sister when I was like 9 or 8 or something. She
Uh
was
huh.
she was drawing, and I drew my first drawing because of her, and I felt so proud. And so it was a mix of that piece, but also pride in being able to make something. Like, wow, this is mine. I have the ability to do this, and I don't know how far that's going to take me, but I'm going to keep going. Like, I'm going to get insane at it. And that definitely was a light, right? Because when you're oppressed and you're repressing a lot of sadness, it's very dark, and you don't think you could do anything, and you feel
Yeah.
like a. But when you make something and it comes out and you love it, and I would show it to people, and they'd be like, "Oh, this is really cool," and I'm like, "Wow, I felt validated," right? And it wasn't because I was a girl, it wasn't because anything, it was just because I made something. And I felt it, and I was like, I need a tiptoe. I was like obsessed.
But it became your outlet. It's like it became your antidote, right? Like thinking about your creativity, your art. Like you found a way to tap back into the truth about who you are, despite how you were socialized, right? Like there was something, this intrinsic something that sort of brought you back.
Yeah. You know what? It also, I
But
don't think I would have done it if it wasn't for, because it was at the end of high school that I was practicing this, and it was a teacher who said, "Fuck school." She was like, "Fuck grades and all this stuff. I want you guys to teach yourself something." And that was the first time where I was like, "Oh my god, school can be creative. Like this is fun. Like this isn't." And
what? That's dope
said
as fuck.
to teach yourself something, and I started doing drawing, and it wasn't physical enough, so then I picked up jewelry, and I loved it. I loved it. And that was a group of people that were like, wow, this is really cool. And I'm like, really? Is it? So it's also, again, it always comes back to our environment, our interpersonal. Like, it takes that adult to give some type of outlet to a child for them not to kill themselves. Like, we need to be those people for others. And and that's where it's like, you're not just doing it, like you're doing it because when we practice, it's not selfish, it's for us and the people around us.
Yes. God
Mm,
damn it.
so important, so important. So shout out to her. I never saw her again after high school, but she was amazing.
Ah, that was so good. I keep thinking about because I keep thinking about your art and your jewelry making right now. I'm thinking about sort of what it really represents. It's not just I'm just making jewelry. It's it's an outlet. And I think probably most artists feel this way anyway. But I think maybe the consumer of the art don't understand, maybe not fully understanding the sort of process to getting to that point of whatever that creation is, right? Like thinking about sort of jewelry, right, and sort of what's behind that, what motivated that, what compelled the spirit to come through and create whatever that is, right? Whatever piece that is. But I love that you was able to, because even I think about like when I think about jewelry, thinking about some of the jewelry I've seen that you've made, like it feels very organic. It feels like it's connected to the natural world in some ways. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially jewelry that like use stones and stuff. Like it feels like very like there's something natural about like nature.
I
And
say I say that I don't make, like, if I get a stone, right? If I get like, I'm getting like a nice little quartz.
uh-huh.
I'm looking at it and I'm like, let me listen. Let me listen, and like, what do you want to look like? Like, what are you gonna wear? What are you gonna be? How do you want to be worn? It's not even just like what I want to see. It's it's not about me, and that's really what I love when I work with earth materials, because I'm working with metal, I'm working with stones. It's I'm just like you said, channeling. Like
Channeling.
I'm listening, and it comes, and it's my iteration of whatever that vibration it's giving. And
Yeah. I'm feeling that.
saw
I'm
it.
feeling that. I'm feeling that. Okay. So, yo, thank you for like sharing your lived experience and sort of being part of this IG live series. I always say kudos to anybody who wants to be part of this live IG live series, because for a lot of people, even mentioning white supremacy is, it makes them uncomfortable, right? Because
Yeah.
again, people think it's meant to be this thing when it's really meant to bring awareness, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter whether people agree with white supremacy or not. Like and whether it's a social construct, because we know it's a social construct, but it's still impacting our lives, right? And we can't fucking pretend like it's not just because certain people don't want us to fucking acknowledge what we're up against, right? Like, so just I want to give you props for showing up, and I know this was impromptu from the last IG live, so thank you for like following up. Any last things you want to say before we go? Like maybe how can people find you? Maybe something besides that, but any other last some things you want to say besides where people can find you?
Yeah, I was interested. I mean, I love your mission with Liberated Self, because of the way you put it, right? Psychological liberation. And being a mental health practitioner, it's that's not anywhere. It's not. It's not anywhere. And it's just like the way psychological liberation, that's the first step on how we're even going to try to liberate anybody. If we're even trying to do physical liberation, which what does that even look like if we can't liberate our minds from this program of violence and oppression against us? And it's like the best part. And as a practitioner, I'm like, that's what's missing in a lot of these mental health spaces, because they just want us to be okay, go back to the same life that you were living. Here's a bunch of Xanax, or here's a bunch of depressants, so you're not depressed anymore. What? That's why a lot of my friends like just don't know where to go, because these practitioners just sending them back into this world of that's not okay. And you have to identify it. And yeah, identifying it can be like depressing maybe, but I wouldn't give what I've learned, I wouldn't trade it for the ignorance of whatever sweet ignorance, because this has given me so much context to the emotions that I was feeling because of the structure that we live in.
Yes. Goodness.
A lot. We need that. We need more of this.
We need more.
We need more of this. And I'm happy to say my little cousin started studying. He's going for his MSW.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh my God, they need more of you. You know,
that's dope though. Like yeah. And the thing, you know, so interesting about like, even because I taught a class called Anti-Racism Practice and Social Work at Lehman College in the Bronx. And one of the things that my students got really clear about, right, through, let me just wave to these people. They come in and leave. But one of the things that my students got really clear about throughout the course, and I think it was a powerful distinction for them to make, because most of the students were black and brown because we're in the Bronx. And what they got really clear about, which I think sort of threw them the fuck off, was that they were being trained to be and think like white social workers. And that is so detrimental to the communities that we serve, because if you're thinking like a white social worker and you're moving and practicing like a white social worker, you're going to inevitably harm our community members. We don't need you to come in and harm us further. And we don't need black and brown sort of mental health practitioners or social workers to come in and with the mindset of a white person.
Already, like more of it, because it's already there. You know?
Yeah.
Like, now you're doing it even more.
Like more, because we're trained to do it more. Right? We're trained to pathologize. We're trained to sort of scrutinize. We're trained to be if you're not a family who we think is beneficial of services, we're gonna you're gonna have to pay the negative sanctions or whatever it is, right? Like there is so much work that needs to be done within the social work profession itself. Just that alone, right? That I just think it needs to be done. But I think that there's no thirst for it, because people are afraid, right, to speak up about what it is that the social work profession is doing, right? And even if the NASW apologized a few years ago about, like, you know, aligning themselves with racist practices, but nothing has changed. Like nothing has changed, right? And the institutions, we practice, right, DEI, or we practice anti-racist. No, they don't. Because when my students were in my course, they were seniors going to graduate with their master's degree the next semester. He's like, Antonio, oh, professor, no one ever talked to us about this in the way that you broke it down to us. Because I think these institutions of higher learning don't understand how they are complicit with white supremacy, right? Like the ideas and the sort of theories that we use to serve black and brown and other marginalized and oppressed communities, there's because most of the stuff that we're learning comes from white folks. And so there's no, and listen, I can go on and on about this, but I think about social work, the profession as it is, like itself, so many experiences that I've had, right, as a student and as a working professional, of problematic situations going on within organizations that I was part of. And me bringing up any attention to it made me look like a troublemaker, a shit starter, and so on and so forth. Which is what led me into my private practice, right? Because it's literally the only space where I can work with my values intact and not have to like surrender to conform to like this white sort of establishment. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly. We don't have to censor ourselves to the reality. And it's like not pretty, it's not nice to talk about, but it's so relieving once you do, and it's got to be everywhere. Yeah, my best. I also have, because
Wow, what you have? What you have?
if your people are gonna look through some books that I recommend.
Go
This is
tell us. Tell us.
that I mentioned before about the myth of normal.
I have that.
You read it?
Stop playing with me.
So good.
I also have a few other books that align with this.
This one I read. This one is for if anyone wants to learn about the history and
Stop playing. You didn't think I had that book? Stop playing with me.
You don't got this one? You got this?
I got. What book is that?
Open
I can't see because there's so many. What does it say? Because I can't see because there's letters and words in front of it.
Open Veins of Latin America.
Oh no, I don't got that one.
It's a little dense history, but it contextualizes so much of the South American, of the Latin American experience, of the history forgotten and erased, and the brutality that our countries are experiencing continuously now, and people don't know that.
You know what I want to do so badly? Do a book club. A book club. I want to start a book club and talk about like these issues. I think we need something like. I mean, I know there's book clubs, but I just want to start one too. I've been wanting to start one for mad years. I just haven't done it. I got to find the space to do it.
That's the thing. You gotta find.
There's so many things. There's so many things. Anyway, Carolina, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you being a guest. And I just thank you. I just appreciate it. Where can people find you real quick?
Well, right now, I'm on, my jewelry is rewired.com. And then on Instagram, I'm also just rewired. I don't really use LinkedIn, but I'm Carolina Acevedo if you are a LinkedIn kind of person. And yeah, just message me. That's me.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Talk,
and I'm looking forward to all the other ones. I'm also
there's other stuff. There's other stuff. You'll see.
The 14th episode, and 14. Well, number 4 is very special to me.
Look at that.
It was meant to be. Thanks, Antonio. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. Be safe. And thank you for any guests that participated or was part of viewing this IG live. I know most people see the IG live afterwards, so you can go look at the re-upload where you see it on Instagram, or you can go to YouTube at the Liberated Self where you can find this live and the Unpacking White Supremacy IG live series, in the mental health field. I think that's where it all began. So that was an interesting series too. In the meantime, take care of yourself, Carolina, and everybody else. Have a great night.
Thanks, guys.
And power and love to the people.
Always.
Peace out. All right, bye. Now, come on, now, how do I shut this off now?
Right?